Hey Mary, my name is Adam Borsay. I'm going to be responding to your video today. I really appreciate what you shared. You did an excellent job. I could tell you really have taken the time to dive deeply into the readings and the videos, and you just did a really good job just walking through all the information that you were laying out. I really thought that you did a great job explaining with directly referencing our Corey reading, just what each therapy specifically is. You did a really good job of just helping walk through the concept of how these are therapies that are future oriented, talking about how do we get to where we want to be, and that it's also in a short time frame, that these aren't those therapies that it could go on just for years and years and years, but that the client is given kind of a time frame to work with. Something that kind of jumped out at me that I don't know if you meant to say this, but you had mentioned that they're similar, that they don't think about the past, and that they both, as therapies, are future focused only. And so while the SFBT, the brief therapy, is it's like doesn't care at all about the past. Narrative therapy does care about the past. You even mentioned how they will ask a question: can you think of a time in your life when you felt differently or better, and how could you feel that way now? Because in the narrative, it's kind of retelling those stories to kind of reshape your life, and they kind of discuss that in the reading, just how important that is, telling new stories. And so I don't know if that was exactly what you meant, but I kind of heard it say that neither of them cared about the past, and I felt that narrative from my reading did care about the past. I did like how you emphasized that there's kind of a different way, different types of questions they ask, even though they're both very question-oriented. The very specific questions, like the miracle questions, scaling questions, which I found really insightful thoughts in the reading and what you had to say about that. I loved you kind of walking through that example with Stan, just like how do you go from 4.5 to 5 and moving that up. I thought that you did a great job with that. And I also really liked how you pointed out that it's still questions with narrative, but it's about telling stories types of questions. And so I thought you did a really good job of emphasizing that. And I really have to say, I really liked what you had to share from the Philippians quote, that both of these therapies, while they're not perfect, and I found some areas, even in the TAN reading, just where they kind of clash a little bit with Christian thinking. For me personally, just that idea that the therapist or the client is the expert of their life. For me, as a Christian, I recognize, or I felt like, wow, but the Bible teaches we're imperfect, that we are sinners, that we can't always trust ourselves. But I did like what you pointed out in Philippians, that when we do focus on whatever is good and beautiful and right, like that's life-changing. And especially for a client who might be really stuck in a negative, self-defeating thought cycle, if we can help them begin to ask the right questions and tell themselves the right stories, that can really begin to shape their external lives. And so I really appreciated how you kind of wrap things up with that, really one of my favorite books in the Bible, in Philippians. So thanks a lot for your contribution, Mary. You did a great job. Have a great week.